Hello, sir.
Hello. Are you feeling better?
Finally starting.
Good, good.
Wow, that was awful. I don't recommend it. You were on vacation. That sounded better.
Vacation was great. I'm sad to be back.
We're glad you're back.
I
You are
know.
very welcome.
We'd just be getting back from the beach right about now. I'd be
Huh?
making a nice cocktail and I'd go float in the pool for a couple hours,
Oh,
according
life
to
must
last week's schedule.
be. Nothing prevents you from going to the pool.
Uh,
And
Except for lack of having one, sure.
you know what? I'm about to get on 2 hours of meetings, so I'm going to disappear real quick. I'll be right back with a better background. All right. No, wait a minute. Aha. I've already done this once. So
Hey,
hi there. I'm going to try to make
Hello.
sure, Grobe, that you are a host or co-host or something, because I don't want to leave and suddenly kill this thing.
Right.
All right. So I'm the host. I I can make you co-host. All right. I'm going to be right back.
so the
How are you
static
doing
noise
today?
was from David. Did you hear also the static noise?
I didn't, but I have my
Oh,
speakers turned down very low.
hmm.
All right.
Let me just paste the meeting notes. That's
Nice to see you again, Dr. J.
you're muted.
I can't hear you, but I like to see you.
Ah, my friend, always great to see you. I'm glad that you're back. You were missed. I believe you were on PTO.
Yes.
By the time the end of your PTO came, everyone knew you were on PTO because the questions started to fly, things started to fall apart. There was a bit of hellfire and brimstone, all kinds of things happened.
I'm sure it was fine. I'm a little cog.
Yeah. Oh God. It was wild. Wild times.
I wish I could say I missed you all. I miss my cocktail more and floating in the ocean.
It's always the case. I would expect no less.
Hello. I've improved my background.
You have.
You have. So Nell can't join us today, so I'll lead this call. Let's give. We're free after the hour. So, shall we start?
Sure.
Sure. So welcome everyone to the Memory Safety SIG meeting. On the agenda, do we have any new friends that would like to introduce themselves today?
I'm new in this SIG group. My name is Mikey. Basically trying to figure out what all the work groups are working on in under the OpenSSF. So it's been a journey.
It is. Hi, Mikey. Nice to meet you. Go ahead, please, and fill your name at the doc that I just linked. Do we have anyone here who is willing to help scribe this meeting?
I will try to help.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Okay, so we don't have a too long agenda today. We have a number of open PRs that we can go through.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do that first. So let me. How do I share screen here?
Should be the green button.
It's a green button in the bottom center. Although if you have a URL for the PRs, I'd like if you can slap that into the chat,
Sure.
and then I can also paste it into the doc.
Thank you.
It's in doc too. Okay, all right. That's the top level. Which PR are you specifically talking about?
Okay. So let's go over Nell's PR, which is this one. Number 4.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, okay. So you can see my screen, right? The right
Yes.
screen, the PR
Yes.
screen. Good. Okay, so this started from this Google Doc, which I'll also paste in the chat. So what Nell did is she took everyone's comments from the Google Doc and created a pull request from it. Since it's a new doc and not a diff, I think it would be maybe easier to go over the doc here. So what does the group think? Should we go over the entire text? Should we like review the whole document as it is now?
And this is basically just moving from the Google Doc into Git so that we now can file issues and PRs against it, right?
Right. And specifically, there are two to-dos, which I thought we can assign maybe specific people to, or if we find them. Right. So we have the, where is that? Right. So we plan to work on 5 parts. Whenever possible, move the internet's most critical software to memory safe by default languages with an efficient strategy that emphasizes upgrading the most security sensitive components first. And each one of those parts is then extended in the next section. We have invested in the tools that allow system engineers to move lower level system level code. Is that right? That's a lot of levels. Remember, say this will allow us to have impact beyond just because. Invest. Actually, that's 4 parts. So maybe we can start already to.
I guess maybe the question here is, I'm not doing the side-by-side comparisons. Is this significantly changed from the screen, from the mobilization plan? And if so, where?
Right. So the original mobilization plan only had the first 2.
I see.
And the latter 2 are new ones.
Okay, the invest in
And of
tools and
course-
specifications that improve memory safety and invest in education. Are those the other 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's also where we need some help with extending those, right? Because we have, right, the first one, moving critical software, that is based mostly on Proximo.
Yep.
And I feel it's quite well explained. Investing in safer system development tools, also quite a bit of text here. However, the latter two don't have enough text, and I guess after we merge this PR, maybe an action item for the next 2 weeks is to go over this.
Yeah, I do think that if you keep it out of mainline for a long time, it can get very complicated and confusing. If it's clearly marked as a to-do, as long as there's an agreement that there's going to be work to complete the to-do, I'd rather go ahead and merge it in and keep working as opposed to constantly keeping out of band. We had I remember there was a TAC issue proposal where I think it was out of like 9 months as its own branch, and it got hard as heck to keep track of what was going on. Krob, you remember?
I do. Yeah, and I'll say I endorse getting this into Git. I will be glad to help contribute to some words under the education part,
Okay.
and just wherever in general, I'll provide feedback as I kind of do a closer read.
And I can commit to making at least some proposed tweaks for the third part. In fact, I proposed as an agenda item an item specifically related to that. So
I thought so as well.
yeah, so I think I'm not saying I can write all of it and everything, but I can at least provide something, and then other people I'm sure can have their own suggestions too.
I can volunteer for part of 3 as well.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel.
All
And
right.
I just saw your comment also, Gabriel, on the chat. I tried to walk through some of the comments here. It looks like most of it is integrated. For some things which I haven't found, for instance, we wanted to add a reference to the NSA's cyber information sheet. Don't think that was integrated yet, but I think most of Gabriel's points were. Gabriel, if I recall correctly, you also had a part which you wanted to update over the Google Doc. Did you have a chance to do that?
Unfortunately, no, I did not. I think one thing we could, I don't know if this makes sense to turn some of these comments into Git issues or pull requests. I don't know which one of them. That way, we it's
That's a very good
glaring
idea.
what needs to be done. I don't know what the group thinks.
I think it'd be great to, like, if you had a high level topic, make it an issue, and then eventually, as we have text, that gets merged in with the PR.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'll go through the comments again and then see which one were not integrated. So I'll just open issues or pull requests. I don't know how you want to handle it.
I guess if you had proposed text, just do it as a PR.
Okay.
But if it's just a topic like, hey, we forgot to talk about this tool, make it an issue.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry for video on my side not showing up, but somehow this machine has decided that its camera won't talk to the rest of the operating system.
Yeah.
Probably not memory safe.
Touche.
So do we want to merge this PR and then try to create other PRs to fill in the to-do gaps? Is that the theory here?
We do. There is an issue with the linter.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I will work with Nell to fix that, and then we can. I think we should fix that right before merging.
Okay, yeah, but if you can work with Nell and do that sooner, but sounds like the group is generally okay with merging once we fix the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Do we want to manage the to-dos as issues, since we know we already are going to do them, and maybe it's
Sure.
a good way to not lose track of those? Sure. So
That sounds like a great idea. Yep.
So
All right, I'm going to add this as a note on the issue itself.
okay, I will. Sorry. So that's one, and
Then you can drop your note in the agenda right in. There's a comment, David.
Sorry, I'm confused.
Now that we have an issue and it
Oh,
basically
yes.
talks to what you put on the agenda, you could just copy and reuse that.
Yep. But I'm going to want to wait on the PR being merged because then it'll be much easier to merge into it. Git can handle it, but it is confusing as heck in GitHub when you do that. Git's perfectly capable of tracking forks off forks, but
okay. So I guess we all agree that we want to merge this as soon as possible, given fixing the links.
Yep.
How do I stop sharing?
Oh, you don't stop sharing. You're sharing for all time. No. There's
Should be at the, I think it's the top of the screen now.
yeah, it's on the by default it's on the top of the screen. Try to scroll past the top of your screen going up, and there'll be a drop down that will let you do things like stop sharing.
Got it.
There we go.
I'm back. Okay, so next on the agenda. So next on the agenda we have David. David, do you want to?
Yeah, although I had a question, and I'll be honest, I suspect it's already been. I think it's been answered by this, but I think this is a good excuse as any. So obviously, C is not. I'm sorry. Did you say?
I'll mute.
Oh, okay. No, don't need to do that. But okay. Basically, my question is: are techniques to improve memory safety in C and C and C++ in scope? It sounds like, given this PR that we've accepted in principle, the answer is yes, because that's part 3. I've been following, in particular, the Linux kernel folks have been, as well as trying to adopt C for writing drivers. They have been actively taking steps to try to change the C code to counter at least some memory safety problems. It's very, very hard to counter some of them in C, but some of the most common ones all involve buffer overflows. And there's a lot of techniques that you can use in C and C++ to counter buffer overflows. Some are just simple compiler flags, but there are also techniques, newer techniques that are being developed. And what's weird though is there doesn't seem to be a spec that says do this and the problem goes away. like Case Cook has some documentation about how they're changing how flexible array works, or bounded flexible arrays work. And the GCC and CLang folks in particular are planning to add some attributes to make it much easier for a compiler to know what the well, both compile time and runtime, what the bounds of arrays are in C. And oh, okay, yeah, excellent. Let's add that too. I see in the chat there's another link. C also, yeah. So basically, the bounded or flexible array stuff is it's really common in C to have a structure. The last element of the structure is an array with an unknown bound length. Historically in C, well, if you go back enough, you'd say you create an array of size 1, and then you ignore that and do something different. And that's a terrible idea. The compiler and runtime have no idea what's going on. A non-standard approach is to say it's 0 length, which works in practice, although it's not really what you're supposed to do. And they have some better approaches that work more nicely with compilers and so on. So, that sort of stuff where do this, not that, and here's how you do it. Bringing that information from one particular project, like the Linux kernel, to if you are in C and C++ and you cannot afford to rewrite, which I think is a lot of places, what can you do that's that isn't a killer in resources and actually helps?
Yeah. So at last meeting, part of the reason why we added bullet 3 was that we agreed that being memory safe is not a binary 0-1 thing, but a shared, you have a scale, and languages like C or C++, they may not be memory safe by default, but if you have enough construct or compiler switches processes in place, you can actually bring your software to a place where you minimize or reduce some of these memory safety issues. That is why we explicitly added bullet 3 there. So what you're saying, from my perspective, given that prior agreement from the group, is directly in scope, right? So I think one of the things we could do is, as part of topic 3, is have a kind of high-level description of what goes in that direction, what can be done, and possibly provide links, external links to folks to with more in-depth description of how they can concretely move their software forward.
Okay, so there's an existing OpenSSF working group that is identifying compiler flags. Mm-hmm. And so what I would suggest is, and just trying to separate things out, basically the compiler flags folks, which is also part of the best practices working group, they keep doing this, and then this memory safety group might create a spec that says, here, if you're using C, here's what you can do. Point here for flags, there's where compiler flags is where you go, and here's some other things you can do, and that would be a potential outcome of this group. Is that a fair?
That will, I think that will be a very practical outcome.
Okay. All right. Yep. So I am sure I don't know all the options. There's, but that said, it does seem like a useful thing.
Yeah.
So as an action item from this topic, do we want to add both of those as examples to the third bullet?
I think that's entirely plausible. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so you mean having a group create a spec for, directed at the C and C++ compilers option group?
Well, I'm not sure spec is the right term. It may be a guide, but basically, how's this? I'm going to try to type and write and think this at the same time. A potential output of this group would be a guide or a spec
Mhm.
of how to improve memory safety in C and C++, building on other work such as those
Okay.
kinds of things. Is that
Yeah, that looks good to me.
okay? Frankly, I suspect guide is more important than or spec.
Mhm.
Guide is probably more likely.
Because the hardening guide that is developed by the hardening guide isn't only specific to memory safety. So, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct, and it's also specifically focused on compiler option flags. Now, obviously, compiler option flags are important for this use case as well, but what they're not going to cover, for example, is I mentioned the bounded flexible arrays. I think that's a useful example because, I mean, basically, bounded flexible arrays occur all over in the Linux kernel, and they occur in many other C programs as well. But although there are some compiler option flags that help, you basically have to change the code to make those flags really work. It's not like you're not rewriting it to a different programming language, but you are changing it. So I guess the most ridiculous example is if you really, really wanted to stick with standard C and then abuse the heck out of it, you might end it with an array of size 1 and then ignore this array size and do your own calculations. That's a problem. Okay. Turns out, by the way, it's also a coding problem because now you have inserted one-off problems everywhere, which is glorious and fun. And so basically you have to change the code to make it so that the arrays have an empty bound. And and hopefully soon the CLang and GCC folks will agree on extensions to actually mark within structures how to figure out the size. Because in many cases there is an element somewhere in the structure that tells you how many elements, but the C programming language has no way to annotate that. So basically, you end up changing the code. It's not that you're rewriting another language, but you are making code changes. So it's much more than a compiler flag. It's a compiler flag plus certain other conventions.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as you move on to other conventions, that's where this work would suddenly trigger in as opposed to just the compiler flag folks.
Mikey, I see you wrote in the chat boost. I'm not familiar with that. Is that a platform?
I may have misinterpreted exactly what we need, but Boost is like a large, very common library for for C++ users. It's kind of old library, but actually is widely used by actual people today, just because C++ is ancient. So it's basically like libc for
Yeah.
C++, but it extends like safe pointers, safe arrays, and all those kind of structs that you may use. It's not mainly a security aspect library, but also it includes such constructs. We also, when I used to work in C++, we had the pleasure of trying to define for the developers how to compile, how to what to include, and it's also, I think, a good thing to understand that a lot of the security modules for C and C++ are or hardware based or compiler based, which has a lot of effect on how developers accept these, because they may not have the support, or they don't want to push this weird plugin of GCC or I don't know, whatever to into the code.
Yeah.
Interesting, thanks.
Some of the results I used to have. It was a lot of years ago, but
All right. And by the way, I've added that note, and also I think it's sounding like, for example, especially for the Boost C++, for example, there may need to be a separate one for C versus C++, because yes, there's some overlaps, but they are two different languages. And Boost, for example, won't help C++ C users, but might be a very good idea for a C++ user.
And this would work on any runtime or specific runtimes, like Boost would work
So Boost is the library, it should work on anyone.
on any runtime.
Yeah, so, I think this Gabby talking. I think Boost is a good suggestion, but I think we need to be careful about what kind of recommendations we make, because I've seen many places where they explicitly ban Boost for various reasons. And so are we going to say, if you don't use Boost, you're not complying to do this guide? And so I think we need a bit more discussions there, but I don't know if this meeting specifically will be the one that resolves the issues.
Well, I'm not familiar with the forbidding of Boost. Why are they forbidding Boost?
Oh, okay. So Boost is a very large library that has been around since 1998, right after the first C++ standards came out. And it had features that work well, others not so much. They don't have, not all the components have active maintainers. So for example, if you have CV things coming and then they're not always taken care of, because you need the appropriate maintainers to take care of it. And so maintenance is a thing that we need to actively, especially when we're talking about CVE, we need to actively monitor it before we recommend. So some of components are actively developed, but not all of them.
Well, and I think one of the troubles is that some parts are kind of obsoleted because C++ has added some of those functionalities.
Yeah, some of them, but not, like auto pointer migrated to the standard, but other stuff were not, but they lost their maintainers. And that is an active conversation in the Boost community, in itself. Like a couple of weeks ago, they had a huge discussion on Reddit about what to do about all these vestigial components that are used but not maintained and that sort of stuff. So this is not saying we shouldn't recon Boost. I'm saying we need more nuanced and focused conversation about what exactly is being recommended and what is the process model for monitoring CV, taking care of stuff that people are using.
Got it.
Thanks. That was a very interesting discussion. I learned a lot. That marks the end of our agenda for today. Does anyone want to add another open to the meeting? If not, everyone gets almost 30 minutes back.
Woo!
And I get my weekend.
Oh,
Take care.
lucky you.
It's actually a holiday here in Israel, so
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still the evening for you, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And I've been on the beach the whole day.
No, so that background is just fake.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you. Great conversation today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Same here. So action items, we have action items, right, for the next call. Krob, I can work with you on the education if you want. I'd be happy to collaborate.
Yeah. I'll put something together. Unfortunately, I don't have any permissions on this repository. So I am just a regular old user, but I'll do some comments and I'll do a PR.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll pick up with you. Great. So thanks, everyone, and see you on the next call.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Sure.
Bye.